right, guys, welcome back. Saturday Night Live BDTR podcast. Unfortunately, the guest we were going to have on tonight wasn't available to be able to do the interview. So we couldn't find anybody else. So guess what? We're just going to wing it. So if you guys aren't into that, you can turn it off or whatever. That's fine. But so let me put the call number up here. So if anybody else wants to call in. So anyway, we had a fun day today. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I found a vehicle I wanted. It was up in Parkersburg. So we go up there, and prior in the week, we tried to make sure everything was squared away because it's about an hour away for us. And so we wanted to make sure the ducks were in a row. And we traded in her Subaru, and we paid that off, April?
Yeah.
And still, title never showed up. So, well, tell them what you did earlier this week.
What I did on about Tuesday, and I double checked to make sure I'm right here. On Tuesday, I called the finance company I had got my loan for, and I was like, hey, it's been since April. Where's my title? And I get the whole song and dance of, well, since you moved from Pennsylvania where it was originally financed out of state, they have to get a paper title from Pennsylvania sent to the loan company. And once they have it in hand, they're like, then we can release a digital copy to you, like we would have done anyways. I was like, great.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I want to do. I want to trade my vehicle in. Is there any way that we can work around that with the title kind of being in space? They say, yes, that's not a problem. Just call in from the dealership. They'll tell them, yes, the title's free and clear. We'll just put your name on it instead, and it'll go to you instead. No problem. I'm happy. He's happy. We called the dealership. They said, hey, yeah, we've done that before. No big deal. Just come on in. We'll deal with it when you get there. Then we get there.
Oh, and by the way, that was probably the best dealership I've ever dealt with.
Oh my, yes.
So definitely nothing against them. And I think they were kind of afraid that Abby was going to start murdering people or something. Cause yeah, and here's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So like I said, we had everything worked out, through the week. We knew we shouldn't, even though we don't have the title in hand, shouldn't be an issue. We already solved that issue. And so we get up there and she calls, and of course you get the guy that's can't hardly understand what they're saying, real thick accent, whatever. They don't want to, they just want you to go away.
Basically, yeah.
So she was not too happy. So she actually went outside and continued the rest of the conversation.
Not too happy was an understatement of the year. My face matched her hair. Let's be honest here. And all the gentlemen watched me walk out of that dealership. Two of them actually kept coming outside for smoke breaks just to kind of peek around the corner and see what I was doing. They weren't as sneaky as they thought. I wasn't upset, honestly. I thought it was kind of hilarious, and it was helping me not want to implode, because the call I was getting and what was happening on my end was, now I have this gentleman explaining to me that apparently the very next day after I called and told them, my intent, hold the title if you get it, magically my title appeared from Pennsylvania the very next day, and then they sent it to the DMV. The DMV in Pennsylvania, but they don't tell me where. They don't tell me an address it's sent to. They don't tell me which DMV it's sent to. It's just apparently now they're telling me, and I got a supervisor. I was that person today. I was like, okay, you know what? If you can't help me, so be it. I'm not going to take it out on you. Give me someone who actually knows what the hell's going on here.
Or at least wants to try and do their freaking job,
Minimal effort here.
Yeah.
Oof. So they try telling me the same song and dance that it's in Pennsylvania, and this woman literally then proceeds to tell me that, well, I just need to leave the dealership, go to Pennsylvania, and ask the DMV for my title, to which I explain I'm about 5.5 hours from Pennsylvania. I'm standing in a dealership that's going to be closing somewhat soon, that has been gracious enough to have a gentleman come in today to do this for us on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And you want me to do what? And then I'm like, so wait, how did this happen? How did it go from, you haven't gotten it yet, you don't know where it is, it's going to be sent a digital copy. If you're going to send a digital copy, then why? Well, you never updated your address. I did a year ago, and I still have the confirmation number and email, and I told that to her. She still doesn't want to hear it. Still wants to argue with me that, well, I'm just going to have to go to the DMV apparently to get my title, and because the loan was closed out 4 months ago, they technically have nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Somehow. But
Somehow.
They also didn't give you your title, so I mean, that's kind of their fuck up, but
especially when it was supposed to be sent digitally, because I get it. Things change. Procedures are different. But now it's a complete 180 off of what I was told literally days ago. And I even asked them, I was like, so why is it that this first employee tells me this and now you're telling me this? Were you wrong? Was she wrong? And if they're wrong, why are they giving this kind of information? Like, where's the disconnect here? Why is it such a dramatically different story for this? It's supposed to be a simple thing,
Well,
guys.
and that's what's frustrating. And it's not just is what was it wasn't Holiday Financial, which
GM Financial.
GM Financial. So, which I mean, they're garbage anyway, but
Yeah, sorry
it's
guys, don't recommend at this point.
yeah. So, but anyway, that's what's frustrating is you call into these places, and especially if it's like government related, DMV, whatever, the housing authority, whatever it is, it's a joke. But a lot of these private companies too, you need help with something, you call in, these people, they hate life, they don't want to be there, they don't want to talk to you, and then it takes you like what 20 minutes to get somebody, an actual person on the
Yeah.
phone before you can even begin to do anything, and then you got to tell them your life story through the stupid,
But then
like
you got to
the
do it 3 times because after you explain it to the
yeah,
person, you finally get there like, oh, well, that's outside of my department. Let me transfer you to so and so.
yeah,
And they don't make any notes. And now you have to go through the
yeah.
whole spiel again. Oh
And
my
half the time the
God.
line just goes dead. So then you got to start all over again. So you're like 30 minutes into
Yeah.
this shit and then it's back to square one. And it's just super frustrating. But anyway, so we did get the vehicle. It's great. It's a
Yeah.
2020 Toyota Corolla. It's the hybrid one because, I mean, I do a ton of driving. So like it
It
just
is
makes
super
sense.
roomy.
It got, was it 47 and a half miles a gallon on the way
Yeah.
home? I mean, that's pretty good. And the cool thing about it is because a lot of the people complain about hybrids and because the regenerative braking. So basically, like when you first step on the brake pedal, you're just turning you're turning the electric motor into a generator basically and charging the battery. And there's a very noticeable threshold on most of the ones, at least that this is the first one I've ever driven. But there is I can't tell the threshold. It's almost like it's not there, and it does not feel like a CVT. Yeah, any of you guys that have like one of the older, like even your Subaru wasn't too bad, but like CVTs, if you're
That was
not,
fine.
they're just weird.
It was really
They're
weird when I
weird.
first started driving that car because that was the first car that I had that had the CVT in it, and it took some getting used to for me just
Hmm.
because it felt very different. But I really like the new Toyota because, as you all know, we're two pretty tall people, and our
Yeah,
6-year-old comes up to here on me already. So
it's growing like a bad weed.
yeah, understatement of the year there. So it's nice.
Yeah,
It looks like such a small car. Like when I walk up to it, I'm so much bigger than this car. And I like get down into this car, but then you get in it, and it's like, holy crap, I can keep my legs the whole way out. I'm not all
hmm
cramped up. She has plenty of leg room. I still have room to scoot back further. The trunk is actually really big.
yeah. For being a small car, there's a
I'm
lot of room
impressed.
in there. So, because the only thing is like you kind of got to crawl out of it because it's pretty low to the ground. But I mean, other than that, when you're in it, when you're driving it, it's really, really comfortable.
Mhm.
Because when I worked at UPMC, and I used their vehicles. That's kind of how I got into the Ford Escapes because that's what they had, and I actually liked them, especially the newer ones. That's why I got one of those too. And when they got Toyota Rav Fours, just the Fords are a little bit higher maintenance usually. It's just how it is, which doesn't bother me because I've been working on cars for a while. But if you can just get a car that you get in and change the fluids every once in a while and just drive it and it doesn't break down on you, that's good too. So that's kind of why I was interested in this one.
Real
Um,
quick. Hi, Panda.
oh geez, Megan's in here.
Yeah.
Not a real panda.
To those who are in here with us, we hope you're all having a wonderful Saturday evening. Thank you for spending a little bit of your Saturday evening with us. And again, we're sorry that the main show kind of got derailed, but we're hoping we can
Yeah,
keep you entertained anyways.
we're just winging it because I said we'll do it's kind of I guess more like a Wednesday show, so it's no big deal. Because honestly, I'm surprised we haven't had any guests have to cancel yet. We've gotten pretty
Yeah.
lucky with that, so hopefully it keeps up. But um, yeah, anybody wants to call in, got something on your mind, the number 412-440-3484. And for all you haters out there, it's 412-440-3484. That's right, I said it.
Well, while we're waiting for calls, here's something I want to rant about. Okay, because tomorrow it's a fun packed weekend for us. Tomorrow we are going to
We're
a
doing some nerd shit, all right? Just
yes.
get over it now.
All right, what's the we went there? So, like to my fellow nerds, you know what's about to happen here. We are going to the Huntington Comic Con. I'm very, very excited to be going. I'm excited to be taking the two of them as well. So on the
Oh,
topic
and by
of
the way, it's
conventions,
Huntington, West Virginia, because I know
oh,
like George is gonna be he's gonna like spill his drink like what?
wait, we're getting
I
one.
didn't know
Oh,
that was going on.
I wish Huntington, Pennsylvania would get one. I really wish they would.
Well, they got what the like the fair or
The
whatever.
Huntington County Fair, yeah.
Yeah.
I still like it.
Honestly, that
It's a nice
wasn't that
fair.
was we went what 2 years ago. It wasn't too
Hmm.
bad.
No, it's small, but it's nice. It's clean. The animals are all pretty happy to see you when you come in.
Well, and growing up out in Martinsburg, the fair, the World's Fair they had out at Morrison's
Mhm.
Cove Park, that was actually pretty cool. I mean, whenever I was in high school and I had the band together, we played a couple shows for that kind of stuff, and it was really nice. But then I guess the company that did the rides or like it's not anything. At least the last time I was there, it's nothing like it used to be. So that's unfortunate, but
Yeah, I don't know on that one. I think I only went to that once was when I was an adult, to be honest. But back to my rant. On the topic of conventions, I think some of you know what's about to happen. I want to talk about Sci-Fi Con in Altoona, Pennsylvania. I have some grievances I wish to air about Sci-Fi Con in Pennsylvania.
she's pissed, guys. So
I
watch
am
out.
beyond pissed at this
You
point.
think I have a temper?
You have
Yeah,
no idea.
not a lot more, but she's the next peg up.
Oh yeah. I get it honest from my mama.
Yeah.
Speaking of, hi mom. But okay, so my issue is I have gone to this convention for many, many, many years. I went as a just a guest. I've been a vendor. I was a vendor there for 2 years. I don't know if any of you might recognize me or realize who I am. I was Warp Perception Resin. I was the one making the resin coasters out of like Pokemon cards and the little shakers, stuff like that. I did it for about 2 years, and honestly, I enjoyed it. I love the atmosphere, the people, the other vendors. It was a really nice thing. But every year, the price has dramatically increased. Now, I understand inflation. I understand, especially since COVID happened, prices are up through the roof. Everything costs more. It's to be expected. My biggest issue is we are talking almost a 50% increase every year. And if you go back and look at the prices from when it started to where it is now, yes, I get it. You're getting some big names to come in. You've got these really famous people come in. So be it. That shouldn't jack the price through the roof just to get in the door or for the people that aren't there to see these folks. They're there to sell their wares. They're artists, they're creatives, they're small business owners that are just trying to get out there, get their name out there, get their product out there, get a chance to have a running start,
Hmm.
even if it's small. But then it's absolutely squashed. It's an 8 foot table, I think was almost what, 200 something dollars. Please don't quote me on the price. I don't have it in front of me right now.
Well,
If
and
I
there's what two different because
There's two
there's
different. You either have an artist table or
right,
you have a vendor table. Now the difference is,
and the
I
vendor tables are like
way more
automatically twice
expensive.
as much.
Yes,
As, yeah.
for the same size table, you were paying almost double for the
Yep.
same 8 foot table as an artist. Now the difference is, an artist table is someone who's making or selling items with non-licensed or trademarked items. So they're doing their own art, their own drawings, their own original characters and whatnot. Now, because of what I was doing, though technically as an artist working with resin, I am still using a different medium that is licensed, Pokemon. So I have to have a vendor table. Fine. But now I'm paying double the cost for a vendor table and it keeps dramatically going up. A lot of folks aren't happy about it. We understand, the big names, but again, you have to pay to get in the door just to walk around and see these vendors that are paying out the butt to be there at this point.
Yep.
If you want to see these famous folks, thank you. Someone just said they think it's $225 for an 8 foot table, which is
Well, and
absolutely
the
insane.
famous people that's
You
see,
have to pay to see them. Like,
well, you have to pay to see them. But here's the thing where it's almost like it's disingenuous, at least because they advertise these people, and these people cancel like 2 days before. Well, you still paid for all your shit, and you don't get that money back.
no, they don't care that you only paid the ticket price in order. $225 for a 6 foot table, even worse. My goodness.
Mm-hmm.
But now, yeah, like these people, especially if folks are coming from out of town, they're lining up hotels and they're figuring out the cost to get there, food, all these other expenses. That one person that you wanted, my goodness, $225 for a 6 foot, $300 for an 8 foot. Now that's just to have an opportunity to sit there at an 8 foot table and put your stuff out. Now all you get is literally a table
Mm-hmm.
and a single chair. That's all you get.
Yep.
You can't hang, like, if you want stuff put up, you have to bring your own kind of metal frame stuff put up. You can't tape stuff on the wall behind you if you're lucky enough to be against the wall.
Yeah.
You're lucky they let you use the outlet if you're near it. And again, I understand prices and stuff goes up, but it just doesn't make sense in my head, especially for Altoona. We're not a major city. It's not a huge area. And Altoona doesn't respectfully have a ton of stuff that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
So when Sci-Fi comes, a lot of folks get excited. It's something
Well,
different to
that
do. It's a
brings people
weekend
from literally people
all
from all
over.
over the country come to that. Yeah.
Especially since I'm chatty. I was a vendor for 2 years. I made it a point to talk to a lot of the other vendors. Like, hey, where'd you come from? Hey, what do you do? How long have you been doing this compared to other conventions? And a lot of folks were kind of expressing a lot of frustrations to me, especially the ones that were coming from out of town. Like, after all my costs to even get here and then to stay, to have my table, I basically have to pray that I'm going to make X amount of dollars to even break even to make it worth coming here. And then you got to hope to make profit on top of that.
Yeah, and it's not like, the way everybody's finances are with the economy and everything. Like people don't have money to just go buy because, like, let's face it, you're not selling essential stuff that people need.
No, we're selling fun
So,
stuff,
hmm
realistically, artistic stuff. So, like, you go in, you already got to pay an insane amount of money to get in the door. Now that takes out of the money you have to spend on the artists. You go and you see the artist. Maybe you can afford to get some stuff, but you're already a little light on your money because you had to pay that to get in. The food price is insane.
and the food's garbage.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sorry.
terrible.
No, it's not worth it. I straight up, no, I'm telling him, bring me Taco Bell and smuggle it in at this point. Like,
And then I got to fight. I mean, you guys know how much I really just love crowds of people. And yeah, so the first time, well, no, the worst one was the Jaffa
Oh,
because they had her like back in the,
tucked in a
anybody's,
corner.
yeah, it was what, in the basement of the Jaffa, I
Yeah.
guess. And yeah, now this was kind of more of a like an arts and crafts. So like her stuff really wasn't even selling because it was kind of the wrong venue anyway. But then they put her right in like I couldn't find her. I walked around the place 3 times
I'm
and
yelling at him. He can't hear me.
well,
I'm literally
it's like
watching him go
you know
by.
how everything's loud as hell in there, and yeah, so yeah, but it was just. And how much did you? 'Cause did you?
Now I never got my money back for the deposit that I never made it up for. It was $120.
Wow.
Yeah. That's another fight. I want to focus on sci-fi and my grievances there. Because now I find out again, the price has gone up this year for all these tables. And now they announced that they are cutting the vendors' tables by 40. There will be 40 less vendors because they want to bring in more of these hotshot names. Again, it's probably just because I was a vendor, but to you folks in Altoona, anyone who does stuff like that, does that make sense to you? You're going to cut out the people that are working so hard to sell their product just to have some quote unquote famous people come in that may or may not actually show up. Because I don't know, like, especially when I was a vendor, I was downstairs, I was near enough I could see. I don't feel like that's the main draw. Yeah, if there's someone there you really want to see, you're going to go and you're going to go see them. But that I don't feel is the main reason people go. They go for the experience, to get their nerdy little whatevers that they want, their different fandoms. Listen, I'm a nerd. I'm allowed to say it, okay? I'm a huge nerd, and I will rant all day long about this. It's just very frustrating to me because things are hard enough. And Sci-Fi Con and conventions in general are supposed to be a place that you can go just to forget a little bit. Just to relax and enjoy the atmosphere, have fun, be around people that are into the same stuff as you are, and just forget about some of the bullshit. But now you're there and you can feel it. You can literally feel the difference when you go into these conventions. You can see the look on the vendors' faces. They're stressing out like, am I going to make enough? Is this going to be worth it? Then they have to make the ultimate choice like I did. Can I come back again? Ultimately, I had to make the decision that it was not worth it for me to drive now from West Virginia to Pennsylvania for Sci-Fi Con because of the just starting cost. I refuse to up my prices on my stuff. I will not do that because I love what I do. I love what I make, and I want to share that with folks. I am charging as minimal as I can. I'm not going to start charging everybody more just because I have to pay basically the other guy more
Well, and
for
that's
whatever reason.
you look at the way, like you said, about 50% every year. It's his costs aren't going up that much.
They're not. If they're going up a little bit, I could understand a little bit of jump. But the dramatic price increase, and now to say, oh, by the way, I'm cutting 40 of my vendor tables. Now it's a scramble and it's a cut through competition. Who do you allow in? How do you decide who's going to be allowed in? That's going to be very discouraging for a lot of folks. I know that when I didn't come up this year, I got a lot of messages from people asking, hey, did we walk by you? I didn't see your table and you're not on the list. Where are you at? And I unfortunately have to tell them, like, hey, sorry.
Well, if he keeps raising the prices high enough, that'll do the
Here,
elimination
more
for him.
information from another vendor. So Setsucon, however it's spelled, is in the same conference center, which yes it is. It's also at the same convention center, Blair County Convention Center. It was there, I think, for the first time last year. I could be wrong, but I believe it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still cheaper. It's $100 for a 6-foot table. Now, for those of you who don't know, Setsucon was originally in State College, Pennsylvania. over by campus in a pretty big hotel. It's not exactly a new like a new con, a new thing. Like, it's a pretty well-known name that's been established for a minute, and they're still charging less. What the heck, guys?
Yeah.
Again, I
Well, and
shouldn't be stressing out going to a convention. I just want to go and look at all the stuff and be like,
wasn't one of his arguments that, well, I'm going to charge, I need to charge these prices so I can get more of these big names? Is
yes,
basically
that was, I
his,
believe, one of the
his
arguments that he
yeah.
made is that he needs more money to pay these big names. But again, I'm not trying to bash this particular guy because there's other conventions that are doing the same thing. This one I just happen to be a little more like in tune with and privy to. It just, it drives me absolutely insane. Like, why? Nobody's demanding more of these names. And when even they're there, people aren't like, they'll go the first day. If they want to see these folks, they go, they get the signature, they do their thing, they leave. But there's no reason that you have to like cut the vendors that hard to bring in extra famous people. Like, if they're going to come and see them, they're going to come and see them. Having more of them's not going to help anything.
Well, and like I said, it's like half of them cancel anyway.
Have
So
them
it's,
cancel. And how much does the con actually make?
yeah.
Because they charge X amount of dollars for a photo op, a signature, or, a meet and greet or whatever it is. But, most of that money I would assume goes to the famous person, not really the con. So, like, I don't understand. And again, I'm sure they'd be told, well, you don't run it. You don't know what you're talking about. It's a lot of this. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. But I'm sorry. I've run a small business and I ran it pretty damn successfully. I started my small business of resin literally right after my first surgery and after I almost died from my first surgery multiple times. And I still made it work and kept my costs low. Like, again, it's art versus a full-on business, but I can't figure it out. It almost feels like it's gone to his head and it's just now more about the money. It should be about the experience and folks going to have a good time. And between Sci-Fi Con and now he's got another one and then now there's talk of another one and now it being multiple times in the year. It's like you're stretching yourself too thin. You've already lost sight. You've already lost the goal and what it originally started out to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're somewhere way off track and you're dragging the mess with it. And the only people that are really suffering are the vendors. Especially the ones like me that now have to come from out of state. A lot of them, when I ended up deciding that my last year was my last year, were telling me the same thing. Like, I've been coming here since the beginning, but at these prices, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth it because I don't even want to say what my starting cost to get into Sci-Fi Con the year I had to drive up between gas and hotel and food and gas and table and
Jesus Christ.
Sorry, I'm a nerd at heart. It really upsets me because it really hurts seeing that all these other people don't get to enjoy it.
Well, and it's not like
Shit's
this is
hard
an
enough.
isolated thing. Everything becomes all about the money. Everything becomes, we need more money for this excuse, whatever. And the overall quality for your actual customers, your participants, it just keeps going down and down and down. Everything keeps costing more. And then you have people are just like, okay, I'm not going to come back. So you take a really good thing, something that is profitable, something that people want to go to, and then all of a sudden it just tanks and you ruin a great thing.
Exactly.
So
I really, really want to see it get back on track. And again, I'm not trying to talk shit against the guy who runs Sci-Fi Con specifically. I'm talking shit on all of them that are doing this. And again, I don't know. There could be a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. It's just what I'm seeing and what I do know. I feel very strongly that this is not fair. And this is just about making an extra buck where you can. And it's hurting the wrong people. Like, bring it back to
remember
being
when
fun.
everybody was asking about the prices? So I went on the convention center's website
Yes.
and actually got all the prices. So, and it didn't quite match the story he was putting out. So he probably doesn't like me, but
Probably not.
I could give a shit, that's just how I am.
Because that's the other thing. Like, he tries to spin a narrative like, oh, well, it's not that much compared to last. You literally have all your prices posted from the time you started this. It's a very big jump. And again, I understand, as it becomes more popular and you do have more vendors fighting for a spot, that's different. Like, if you have that many vendors set, you can't just cut it by 40 and then now charge more because they're all fighting for a spot. Yeah, you made it harder to get a spot. It's not that you're that in demand. You just tip the scales in your favor.
Yeah, I don't
why,
know.
why would people want to even throw? Because that's the thing. Like, you send them a security deposit, you might not get in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I hope you get it back. I hope you would get it back.
No,
I don't know.
Jaffa wouldn't give you yours back.
Yeah,
either,
that's. I took my loss on that. I
Well,
was willing just to try it for the experience, and you got to try, especially when you're new like I was. You
well, you
got to
got the
figure out your
full
field.
experience. You got the
Oh
shaft and
yeah.
then some.
Oh yeah. That's
that was that was
that
terrible.
one really surprised me because again, I was probably in the wrong area for what I have to be selling, but the level of rudeness I experienced from people just baffled me. Specifically, I remember one older woman came over with her granddaughter, and I had made these little resin seashell pins, and they were tiny. They were very tiny, and I had it set that I can't remember what the price, but she didn't even look at what it said. It was like three for the certain price. She just saw that her granddaughter wanted this little pin, saw the price, assumed it was for just that little pin, and I was even getting ready to say, that one's extra small compared to some of my other pins. So if you want to still pick three, and I usually give a freebie if you spend X amount of money, she can just have that one as well if she really likes it. This old woman takes it from her granddaughter's hand, tells her that it's cheap and ugly and not worth the money, throws it back in the bin, and drags her away from my table. Well, that was rude. Like, not even so much to me, but like, she really liked it. Hell, I probably would have just given it to her. I'm notorious for that. I'm awful at business in that sense. Like, you bring kids over and they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. That's so cute. I'm like, oh, yeah, here you go. Here's a sticker. Or here's a pin. Like, I can't help it, but I'm in it because I want to make people smile.
That's why you can't afford these $300 tables.
Yeah, basically. Because, I give away my little 50-cent pins because I'm such, horrible with money.
Yeah, if this. Oh, and just as kind of an update, because I know a lot of you guys are following the stupid CBD Delta 8 case with
Mm-hmm.
what's his name, Mike D'Angelo. So I'm hoping because I got a copy of the criminal complaint and the narrative's posted on the page, and it's just you read that and it's not impressive at all. It's like a third grader wrote it, I
Right.
think half of it they just fucking made it up, which that's what they do.
Marijuanas.
Well, and it just goes back to because we're gonna have another guy on hopefully I think next weekend, and he's currently I don't know if it's an appeal, what state his case. I haven't talked to him a whole lot about it, but it's super interesting. It has to do with marijuana and firearms is part of it. So that's going to be a pretty interesting one. But here's the thing: like, how many politicians have just run on, oh, we're going to legalize it, whatever. They at the federal level, it's just it doesn't. But you have the state level, but then you still have the overbearing shit of the ATF can come raid you or whatever if they want to, and because you're in violation of the federal law. The problem with having stupid laws is this is the exact kind of shit that happens. For what, like I said, I believe this guy is being targeted. Okay, if you go on UJS, there was something about a business license or something earlier in the spring. So he ruffled somebody's feathers with that probably, and now they're out to get him. But then you have, and here's the thing: is like the law, the way Pennsylvania has it. I don't believe that any of this. It doesn't matter what Delta strain it is. It matters what the percent of THC is. And according to the state law and the federal law, as long as it's under 0.3% THC, it's legal. Okay? So it's just insane to me, but it's a perfect example of how when you want.
To interject real quick, sorry. Just so y'all know, also fun fact, you naturally have THC occurring in your body whether or not you
Mhm.
smoke or consume marijuana. It's a natural component in your system. That's why they have to have a little threshold of what's allowed because you go in and you're probably going to have a point zero 0.01 or point something, but it naturally occurs in your body. That's why they have to give it a threshold for allowing it to be legal because it's naturally occurring and it does interact in different ways depending what it's in and how it reacts to it to what it does, whether it's psychoactive or anti-inflammatory or whatever. It's more than
Mhm.
that, and they just want to completely overlook that and focus on THC, those magic three letters.
Yeah, and the big argument is, always, well, if they legalize it, everybody's going to be driving around high. Well, number one, no, I don't think that's actually. Are people going to do that? Sure. Do people drive drunk? Sure. Do DUI checkpoints catch DUIs? Usually not. It's usually other shit.
Yeah.
So it's like they come up with these stupid arguments. Because you know what? I'm on the road. I do about, all the way from basically from leaving home to coming back to home over 300 miles a day. Okay. Number one problem I see, texting and driving.
Yeah.
It is insane the amount of people that are so focused on their damn phone they can't keep the car in the lane. They're constantly, you have like 20-mile-an-hour variation on how fast they're going. You go around them, they speed up. You get back over, they slow down. It's just insane. But they are not. I mean, it's hard. It can be distracting just having a passenger in the car and having a conversation, or the kids or the dogs acting up, whatever. But when you're not even looking at the road because you're staring, and some people like, the Paul DeVeglia where they got to like keep it on their freaking crotch and they're looking down like this the whole time. That's not safe.
No.
Okay. There's no excuse. That's ridiculous. There's you have talk to text. You have the way in that Ford is, it's all automatic. I do everything with voice. If I'm doing anything with my phone, I don't even have to touch anything. Okay. And that's the way it should be. And so you're still watching the road. Now, is there an element of distraction? Sure. There is. Anytime, use a CB radio, you change your radio station, whatever. There's always that element. But when you're not even looking at the damn road, okay? And it is so prevalent everywhere. I've been all over, okay? Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio, even into Kentucky, all right? It's everywhere, and it's a huge problem. And I don't know how many times, I think twice last week I had somebody just decide to randomly change lanes. It's on the YouTube I put the dash cam video up on, yeah. And yeah, I'm like halfway off the road because this asshole just decides he's just going to change lanes. So to get back to the original point, when people were like, oh, if you legalize it, everyone's going to be driving around high, that's not even going to be a fucking issue, okay, compared to what's already going on. It's just...
It's like anything. Anything can go wrong. Just because it's illegal isn't going to stop people.
No.
People drive drunk. People are going to do whatever drugs and drive. They're going to smoke and drive. It's going to happen. Just treat it like anything else. Just say you can't do it. And when they do, okay, then yeah, yell at them for it. Give them the DUI or whatever. But just stopping legalization completely because, this is going to happen. Okay.
Yeah, honestly, if we got to hand out a few more, marijuana DUIs so that people like Mr. D'Angelo don't get fucking harassed and have his life destroyed for absolutely no reason, I think that's a fair trade-off. So, but like I said, hopefully we're going to have another guest on here next weekend that's going to get in. I really like this guy. He's very well articulated. He explains stuff better than I do. Not that I'm the master, but he's definitely... I think he should just, if he can afford to, he should go get his law license if he doesn't already have it, because Blair County could use him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. Is anybody going to call in? Like, come on, guys. You want to.
Well, we wait on that to touch back to the smoke and drive thing. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I have my medical card, so obviously I smoke. I do not smoke and drive. I know better than that. But I've been around people younger. And I'm sorry. If I had to pick between someone who's had one drink and them drive and someone who's smoked a lot and drive, I'm getting in with them because the worst case scenario, we're going to be sitting at that stop sign waiting for it to turn green.
Yeah.
They drive slow. They are overly cautious.
Well, it's a different kind of impairment.
It is. It's not any less dangerous, but I'm still saying, like, if it's going to happen,
well,
I'd rather that.
How many medications, whether they're prescribed or over the counter, does it have warnings? Don't drive when you take freaking Benadryl. Anyway. Benadryl. Yeah. You're not supposed to drive if you're taking Benadryl. It's
like anything. It can be used for good or it can be abused.
And there's always going to be people that abuse it no matter. It would be like because I always give this example too. It's like if they legalized heroin tomorrow and you could go down to Sheetz and buy it, right? I'd be willing to bet most people listening aren't going to be like, well, heroin's legal now, so I better run down and buy some and do it because it must be good for me. I don't think that's going to happen, okay? Everybody knows what heroin is, and I guess there are some people that can use it recreationally. I guess they exist from what I've read on, like, forums and shit, but I never have to worry about that because I fucking hate needles. I mean, I was a kid, when I was a kid, they literally had to have like 3 nurses hold me down to give me shots because I just hate needles. All right. So I don't have to worry about
Same, same. I'm pretty famous still over at Mount Nittany for being that 7-year-old that ran like literal hell. I made it from the third floor out of the emergency room exit before someone was able to catch my little ass because I went in for them to give me a shot somewhere I will not disclose because they were worried that I had a mole. They're like, oh, it might be cancerous. My mother, if she's in the chat, can attest to that because she was the one who took me and saw my little skinny ass run like hell from the hospital. I have a lot of tattoos. Anyone with tattoos will tell you it's different from shots. I hate needles. Oh my god, I hate needles so
Well, and
much.
it's just like the doctor's office smell. You
Oh
smell that,
god,
and
yeah.
because I know every time I go in, they
Ugh.
they'll take your blood pressure. Well, you got high blood pressure. You got well, my blood pressure is only high when I come here because number one, all you guys want to
Here,
do is argue with me,
yeah,
so that doesn't help either. But it's like you,
no.
I think what are they? I think they call it white coat syndrome. It's like a real thing. You just have like a natural like just dislike for the doctor's office. Like everything kind of your heart rate and your blood pressure and everything's just
Yes.
elevated simply by being there.
I remember my doctor telling me, I don't remember what she called it. It might have been that because every time I go in, my blood pressure's through the roof. My heart rate's like a mile a minute. And they're always like, well, good to see you're about normal. I was like, yeah, I'm here. I'm not happy, but I'm here.
Yeah, that's
That
just
is one thing I do actually miss from Altoona is the Altoona VA yellow team specifically. I had yellow team and they were some of the best nurses I've ever dealt with in my life. I had some of the best doctors I've ever dealt with in my life from there. I do genuinely miss them, and if any of them are listening, I love and miss you guys. You were great. I miss you.
well, and that's just like since we're on the topic of doctors and everything. I mean, the experiences we've had. I mean, mostly her. I don't go to the doctor. I
No,
just I just don't. All right, I'm just gonna croak one day, and that's fine. I guess if I'm unconscious and you take me, maybe then I'll end up there. But uh,
that's about the only way I'm getting you there.
how many times did UPMC almost kill you?
Oh, hang on.
She's
Um,
got to do a tally because
I do
it
a
was
count.
several. It was several.
One, 3 times specifically come immediately to my head. I'm
Hmm.
sure there was more, but there was 3 times very specifically, and I will not name the nurse that told me, but I did actually have a nurse confirm to me that the whole reason I ended up with bilateral pneumonia, staph, and sepsis at one point, all at the same time, by the way, and apparently whatever I had in my blood, I think they said it was Mercer or something.
Overachiever.
Yeah, basically.
MRSA. Was it
Mertha,
MRSA?
yes.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, this is super deadly and whatnot. Like, how did you get this? And I was like, I don't freaking know. I just had my daughter and now I'm back. What do you mean? I had a nurse kind of on the side basically tell me that when they improperly ran my NG tube twice, I aspirated. They were the reason I ended up with all that at the same time. But she kind of told me on the hush hush. And again, I waited years to say anything because I didn't want her to get in trouble because the nurses, that's the thing. I had some great nurses at UPMC.
Yeah.
I never had problems with the nurses. It was mainly the doctors. I have more faith in the nurses. I don't even want to see a doctor at this point. Like, I go into the hospital, no, go away. Give me the whoever the longest running ER nurse you got, whoever's the like longest standing RN or whatever. Let me talk to her because she's been around the block. She's seen it all. She knows it all. I trust their opinion before a doctor any day.
Right.
Because they also, well, they're the one. They're around you every day. They're coming in. They're checking on you. They see you when you're feeling good. They see you when you're feeling bad. They see what things help, what things hurt. They listen to what you're telling them, not judging like, oh, they're just saying this because blah, blah. Like, they hear you. But
Hmm.
when the doctors come in, they look at you as a sheet of paper. And they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to deal with you. They don't want to be in there any longer than they have to be. To them, it's just, okay, this room, then the next.
Right.
They're in and they're out. I literally had to have a nurse argue with a doctor in front of me to demand I have a test done. And if I hadn't got that done, they probably would have missed my Crohn's for a couple more weeks and it would have been bad. Because at the time, they still had no idea I had Crohn's disease. They found out about the bilateral pneumonia, the staph, the sepsis. They're dealing with that. Magically, somehow I end up with latent tuberculosis. Explain that one to me, y'all. I don't know. I've never been to an actual third world country. I've been to like France, Germany, where else? Little part of Italy, and obviously America. No idea how that happened. And in the midst of all this, all the doctors are arguing, and it takes this nurse screaming at this doctor saying, I needed to get, what was it, a CT scan, is what she wanted with contrast to show that I had a blockage because nobody would listen to me saying where my pain was. Sure as hell, she argues, she gets the test done. I have a major bowel blockage that shows not only is it blocked, that part of my intestine has died, become necrotic, and is moving up and killing more of the good tissue. I got very lucky that they approximately took about maybe that much out. I could have lost a lot more if it wasn't for that nurse going to bat for me.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I will never name the nurses because I never want them to get in trouble for being as good as they are. And we know how the system is. You get a good one, you praise
Oh
them for
yeah.
something like that, they lose their job. It's bullshit.
Yep.
It's just, oh, it's infuriating with the medical system right now. I feel so bad for these good nurses that are in there every day. Like they're overworked, they're understaffed, they're not given enough credit. Their judgment and their opinions never actually accounted for the way it should. They're just passed off and brushed under the table. And then now they're getting more of these nurses because the good ones don't want to be used and abused anymore and they're tired of not being listened to. Now you get these newer nurses that literally just don't give a damn. They're
Yep.
there for the check. They don't actually care. You can tell that they don't actually care. It's ridiculous. Even in the last few years, I've spent a lot of time in the hospitals and around doctors. I've seen a huge shift in care in the last few years between old staff and new staff in multiple places.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good for anybody, especially the patients.
You know, every time you say tuberculosis, I always think of that documentary we watched about Crescent. It's like
Oh,
the
yes.
TV one, and it's the guy who talks like this and is very serious.
They're
They
still
make some good
confused.
documentaries though.
They're still confused how I got that. They have no idea. To this day, they still have no idea, no explanation. I wonder if the test, because it was a newer test to test for it, like, I don't know. I didn't have any symptoms. And they even told me, well, it's latent. It's not active. So, like, you don't have to worry about it, doing anything right now. I was like, okay, well, then
Well, and then
why'd you even bring
remember,
it up?
was that the VA that gave you they like quadrupled your birth
Yes.
control or something?
Yes.
Because she was going to Europe, so she was going to be hoeing around, so they wanted to make
Obviously.
sure she was protected.
Obviously. Because I'm a young woman going to visit friends that are still in the service, even though I just got out. Obviously, I'm going to hoe. I spent, oh my God, the 9-hour flight from like Atlanta to Paris. I was in the bathroom probably 7.5 of it, dying. They literally had to quarantine the bathroom. It's not funny. It's funny now, but it wasn't funny at the time. They literally taped that bathroom off to make sure no one else could go in there because I was so violently sick the whole time.
Well, it's just like, wouldn't that I mean, because with the birth control, you're playing with hormones. So wouldn't that
Yeah.
doctor know that there would have been some serious? Because they didn't even tell you.
No,
They
I
didn't
had
even
no
tell you.
idea. I had just got out. I was going in to get my birth control refilled, and it was the first time seeing this doctor. And she's like, "Okay, well, I'll get you the script refilled. Blah blah blah. This is what you usually take, right?" I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Well, do you have any travel coming up?" I was like, "Well, yeah, over Thanksgiving, I'm going over to Germany to hang out with a couple of my buddies that couldn't make it home for the season. I got nothing to do. I'm gonna go see them." She doesn't say anything. She just kind of nods, makes a note. I go pick it up from the pharmacy. I don't know any better. I'm like, I'm young, so I start taking my birth control like I'm supposed to. It just had enough apparently in my system that by the time I got on the plane. I am so sick. I am literally all but passed out in a toilet in the airport at France. I'm not proud, but it was rough. Thank God this woman comes into the bathroom because one of their security comes in and they're speaking to me in French. I don't speak French. And luckily, this one was bilingual, so she's translating back and forth. And they're like, "Do we need to call an ambulance? Do you need to go somewhere? Do you need somebody? Are you alone?" And I was like, "I have 20 minutes before I get on my final 20-minute flight to Germany. I am not getting stuck here. At least get me to Germany." I get there. My buddy picks me up, gets me back to the base. One of their medics, it's an army medic, comes in. He starts asking me all these questions. I am so violently dehydrated that he literally had to try 4 times to find a vein to run a bag of saline because their immediate thought was like, "You are super dehydrated. We got to get you some fluids like now." So he finally gets started, starts asking me all these questions. I explain, yeah, I take birth control. It's over in whatever pocket. He goes and gets it, looks at it, sees the number, looks at it funny, starts like doing the error math thing, looks at it funny again and goes, "Did you tell them that you were coming to Germany?" And not thinking, I was like, "Well, yeah." And then he proceeds to explain to me that this is apparently normal practice for the VA to do to women when they know that they're going overseas, whether it be deployed or visiting or anything. They assume that we're all going to hoe the hell around and they up our birth control without telling us.
Well,
So
deployment's different though, because you got like the fours and fives that are nines and tens, then so they got to take advantage of it. But
it was just ridiculous. And like, thank God he saw it, told me to stop taking it. They ran like 3 bags of IV fluid through me. It took a day and a half. I finally felt better. I've made it back on my flight home, upright, not throwing up the whole time.
that's always good.
Yeah. It was a hell of a 5 days in Germany, guys.
Yeah, I mean, flying commercial sucks enough, but yeah,
Yeah.
when you're like deathly ill, that has to be completely
I
awful.
looked bad. I looked bad enough that when I was waiting in the German airport for my friend to come pick me up, like the rent-a-car center people saw me. Like I'm doubled over because I took a backpack and my camera bag. I put my legs through the straps of my backpack between my legs and I wrapped my arms through the camera bag straps to hold on to all my stuff. And I'm doubled over laying on it. And someone like lightly touches me on the shoulder, like, excuse me. Are you okay? Do you need us to call anyone? Because, like, obviously I'm overseas. My phone doesn't work. They let me use their phone. I call my buddy because I ended up landing early. Thank God he hops the next train, comes and gets me back, like I said. But like, talk about a memorable experience for my first time overseas.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. So
I can go on
we've
forever.
been going, yeah, we've been running our mouths long enough, but yeah, hopefully maybe you learned something tonight. I guess this is maybe we'll just call this one random talk or something. I don't know. So let us know if you got any comments, questions, whatever. Let us hear. Because, I mean, we took that poll. It was kind of inconclusive whether they want more guests or more of our shit. So,
And again, thank you everyone for joining us on a Saturday night. Sorry it wasn't exactly what we originally planned, but we still appreciate you taking the time to sit here and listen to us ramble instead of doing whatever
yeah, we
else.
just full speed ahead.
Let's go. I have to be careful not to like whack you when I do that.
It wouldn't be the first time. But, all right, guys. Till next time.